Welcome aboard, everyone, and thank you for being here. Hope you enjoy. My presentation is basically based on a project I've implemented on 2 schools. I'm going to base the presentation on one of those schools, and the project is related to eco bricks. Have you ever heard of this word? If you haven't, this is the moment for you to learn. So there are many phrases that we all know. The point of no return, that plastic is everywhere, that human beings are experts in destroying the world. Now we are here to try to motivate our colleagues, teachers mostly, and everyone who wants to join us in this Save the World meeting, or at least this is what I'm going to try. From very small collective actions to massive actions, I believe we can do a lot. In Argentina, there is a very famous singer whose most common phrase is, "The future has come. There's no more time to waste. We need to do things." A very important fact that we are working on is this idea of no one saves by themselves. We need to work with others. We need to work with our communities, little by little, step by step, but trying to be aware and to try to raise awareness of the importance of not destroying the world in which we live. And a very important and a key element, actually, is the respect for diversity. We do not live alone. Individual communities, individual beings are not enough to survive in this wild new world. So the respect for diversity will lead us to respect animals, insects, other human beings, mainly. We know that plastic is everywhere in our everyday life. This is a fact. If you work in the street, if you commute and you need a yogurt, a salad fruit, or to drink some water, you have plastic in your life. Actually, we know that it is a massive industry. And it's not going to be over overnight, let's say. But we need to start little by little, become aware of the danger it produces. Companies must stop producing plastic, and we consumers must stop consuming with very little changes of habits. I'm not going to talk about all the changes we need to make, but today I'm going to focus on how to start recycling or doing something with that plastic. We all know that it ends up where? In the ocean, on the land, polluting, killing animals, and becoming dangerous for our own health. You know, or you might have heard of fish with plastic, human beings eating fish, human beings eating plastic. So it's not a minor topic. This is a picture of my son's bag full of plastic. Just a day at school, a yogurt, an ice cream, some drinks, the toothbrush, which is also made up of plastic, and the queen of this show, which is the eco brick. If you have never heard of an eco brick, let me show you via my students from 7th form.
We are going to tell you how to do an eco break.
We put all the plastic in it.
You need a stick to compact the plastic.
We put plastic bags, packaging, straws, and toothbrushes.
He has to be full and compactly.
Let's do it!
Let me show you what the eco brick is. They bottle all the plastic and you need to compact it. This is going to be turned into a house or some park games or spare parts. You will see later. So this was made with 7th formers, but we needed to call the attention of the community. So we've created a contest in which every single form must fill in eco bricks and the ones who got the more were going to be the winners. You can't believe this, but in a month, we built 100 or so eco bricks, which was not good news. It means that we consume a lot of plastic. The contest was a success. Children were really happy. Children really engaged in the competition, but also they engaged in this idea of inserting plastic in the bottles. They were coming at me during break time, asking if that plastic was okay or not. The key was clean and dry plastic. Clean and dry plastic. Once the contest was over, we took them to another school, which was in contact with the company, which was in charge of rebuilding those eco bricks into something else, or turning them into something else. So basically, what happens next? What do eco bricks are turned into? Here I've brought some examples, a swing and a football goal. The process is made in a machine. It made it into very small pieces. Then it is mixed up with cement and they are turned into bricks. And there are houses which use the bottle themselves with some kind of material made out of soil and water. And there are some places in the city of Buenos Aires, which is where I'm talking from, where you can deposit your eco bricks. The picture you can see on the left is of a train station in the city center of Buenos Aires. So let's start discussing some of the results of this project. Apart from the motivation of and commitment of students, it was interesting to see how families started participating. Some students coming to say, we are starting building eco bricks at home, which was amazing. An interesting thing to see is that the school itself adopted this. And in every classroom nowadays, you can see empty bottles ready to be filled since that contest. So you can see how the community support was and is essential for this to go on. And some final reflections. I can go on, but I know that we are pressed for time. That's why I was trying to rush. Children are easier to engage. I think this happens all around the world. That's interesting. They are eager to participate, to do something. Maybe that's not always the case with adults. We are very tired, we are full of responsibilities. Teachers mostly started participating in the project, but then we're like tired of having bottles in the classroom because it was not that beautiful to be seen. Families were engaged, and once they are engaged, they sustained it over time, and that is amazing because it's like the ball is rolling. And I will, of course, encourage you to try it at home. It's a bit depressing to see that the bottles fill in really fast, unless you start becoming conscious and start choosing what to buy and how to buy it, what products to buy, if they are going to be in plastic packaging or not, and you start reducing the amount of plastic in your lives. We need to choose. The fact is, beyond eco bricks and plastic, we need to change our minds as consumers. We need to choose what to consume and stop consuming unnecessary things. I've learned from one of the speeches here, this idea of the no-buy day. I didn't know about it. It is something I started implementing. It's like a mini battle against capitalism, if I might say. Final food for thought. Maybe you have seen this on Instagram lately. So it's part of the whole thing.
Thank you very much for joining today. What I want to show you is in action what we've been trying to do in my school. So long story short, my journey in sustainability really started when I first moved to Cambridge this year. And Cambridge is a truly beautiful city. And this is our gorgeous school with our lovely garden as well. And this is the garden where I made an unexpected friend. And more specifically, this is our school squirrel, Chippy, who, without fail, every single day at around 4:30, 5 o'clock, he comes around our garden to see if there's any food around. So around February, I started feeding Chippy. And while I was feeding Chippy, I was thinking, but wait a second, our garden is gorgeous. There must be something to it. And it just dawned on me that truly sustainability begins with simple everyday acts. So then I had these two questions in my head. So number one, how can I inspire our students to live sustainably? And how can I assist them in doing so, in combining their love for English, well, I'm saying love, but I'm hoping they love English, their English, but also learning to be citizens of a greener world. And that's how, while looking at everything around the school, I said, let's take advantage of everything and everyone. So I devised a 4-angle plan that involves our students, our staff members, our facilities, and Cambridge itself. And this is what I will be presenting today. So first things first, with regards to our students and sustainability in learning, we focused on two things, our curriculum and our social program. So let me show you more specifically what I mean. So my director of studies and I are designing this Think Green syllabus, which is a specific 10-week course where our students can come and learn English following these 3 approaches: inform, improve, and implement. And we are also training our teachers to use project-based and task-based approaches while teaching an environmental related topics, such as, for example, write a letter to the council about any environmental issue that you see that is bothering you, for example. Let me show you an example of our curriculum. So look at these pictures, for instance. This is a very nice warmer that informs the students of different environmental practices. So for example, this bracelet is part of a company that cleans the oceans from plastic. They turn this plastic into bracelets and then they sell it, which is a fantastic idea. Then what we do after that, we introduce the idea of social entrepreneurship to our students. They discuss what they think it means, and then afterwards they create pros and cons on what it is and how it can improve or not the environment and our society. And the second example of our curriculum that I want to show you is an article from The Guardian that I took, and then we created this. So I took the article, the title of the article, and then I said to our students, right, so write 3 questions you might have about the article, and then write your questions based on this. What we did afterwards, of course, was our social program. So what you see here is our students planting their own vegetables and fruit. So it was really nice to see our students getting involved. The tomatoes and strawberries did taste really nice, but I must say that Chippy ate most of the strawberries, so I didn't have the chance to eat them really. But we do gardening activities every single month with our students so they can understand the whole process of what nature and the environment offers us. Also, we liaise with host families to encourage the students to live sustainably by recycling. And of course, we focus a lot on reducing food waste as well. So this is something that we encourage the host families to do. The next bit relates to our staff members. So about 3 months, every 3 months, I create a team building activity for my staff members where we plant something together. So this is us planting the front pots. This is when head office and our CEO came to our school and we planted a tree. And I'll tell you a secret, but please don't tell my staff. In the Christmas party, in the new year, I have bought for every teacher the You've Planted a Tree card. So this is a company that I have found on Etsy, and what they do is they plant a tree every time you buy a card of theirs, and they show you the whole process, and it's just brilliant. It costs about £2 and it's something nice. So every teacher has got their own tree somewhere. And of course, needless to say that we are talking about reducing photocopying as well. The next thing that we do in terms of our spaces in our school, I have created different initiatives. Like, for example, we have got a canteen and we are using reusable cups and the students get a discount, or we give them tote bags with discounts so that they can reduce the amount of plastic bags that they have. I am in discussion with the building owners so that we can look into renewable energy as well. So we're working on a plan to establish this. We have got our greenhouse and vegetable beds. These are courgettes, but unfortunately it was too cold this year and we didn't end up having any courgettes. That's fine. We also have our bird feeders, and hopefully next year we will have our bird watching as well for our students. And then finally, the most important thing is to connect our students to Cambridge as well. And for this, I created this initiative, the Bike to School scheme, because Cambridge is the city of bikes, even though I don't know how to ride a bike, but that's a detail. And then we also had the Walk to School scheme. When the weather is nice, we set little dates with the students early in the morning. So I will be walking to school. Why don't you come with us? And finally, there are different sustainability activities in Cambridge where they ask students to volunteer at local farms as well. And this is a brilliant initiative for our students to actually connect with the local community as well. Now, I know what you're thinking, Georgia, this is all nice, but does it work? Well, it definitely is fun, to be honest, especially when the students get their hands dirty. It's informative, it's useful, practical, and of course it offers an authentic experience. But what does it mean to the students, and what does it mean to the environment? So first of all, the impact, I know this is a lot of information, but in general, the impact that it has on our students is that, first of all, in class and out of class, they're able to learn about problem solving and critical thinking. Also, they're members of our community and they develop different skills, not only linguistic skills, not only do they learn how to speak English, but they also develop their skills. For example, how to garden their own vegetables and fruit, how to foster for the environment, about renewable energy. So they're learning so much more than English. And what is the impact on the environment? Well, hopefully when we transition to renewable energy, we will be able to contribute to decreasing carbon emissions. Reducing waste is very important for us as well. The bricks is also a nice idea. Maybe, Deborah, we might implement it in 2024. Let's talk. Then it is really a long-term impact, because this is what we want to do with our students, to teach them not only as English language students, but also as citizens of the world.
Talk about my project that I did last year with my students, and it's about how to raise their awareness about the environment. And they are TEFL students, their age is between 20 to 22. So I'll talk about the project in general, some findings, and my reasons behind. I'll start with why I thought about it. Of course, Libya, like so many countries, face so many environmental challenges, like the limited fresh water, like deforestation, like trash. But what I see is the most important one is the lack of awareness. People are not aware of the impact of their behaviors on the environment, and some of them would think that that's the government's responsibility. So it's not individual responsibility. They don't care that much. So that was my concern, how to raise the awareness. I'm teaching adults, mainly some of them are teenagers, yeah, but still they can make a difference. So I thought that instead of just doing something individual, I thought of working on my students, maybe integrating environmental issues in my classroom will make a little bit of difference. So I always call it the path less taken, because usually teachers won't really talk about the environment in their classrooms, and even if it's in the book, they will just mention it, but without practical projects or still it's the teaching here is still traditional a little bit, so it's more focused on grammar and structure more than environment or global issues or skills. So I thought that maybe by bringing this to the classroom, that would make a little bit of difference. So again, I'm talking about my reasons. So as I've mentioned, the lack of awareness. I thought that as teacher and language teacher, I have a chance to bring these topics in the classroom so that students will learn the language and learn about the environmental issues and the words as my colleagues said, as global citizens. And for another reason is that I teach in education college. So they are the future teachers. So if I can raise their awareness about environment, they might implement this in their future classrooms, and that will raise more awareness about the issues. So what I did is that I divided my students. Their total number is 30, so I divided them into small groups. We had I teach them writing, so we had like some input about environment, some samples and examples, materials to share. Then I asked them to think about how we need to read more and write more about it, as I need to relate it to the subject that I teach. So the first task for them was that they need to design newsletters so that we can share them with friends so that they can read more about the environmental issues. Then, of course, we share them and we get feedback. And task number 2 was that they need to participate in environmental friends deal. So we had a deal that we need to be environmentally friends for a week. And they write down, they have their lists, and I have mine as well. So they write what they did, like even if it's turning off the light, even if it's working more, because even for this, we need even to think about it as it's not the habit. As I've mentioned at the beginning, they are not aware of this. So I need to start even from these small steps. And of course, recycling was the last part of the project. It was a research project, so I'll share with you some of the findings because I'll publish it whenever it's done. So I had 2 main questions. What are the attitudes of the students? Because usually the teachers will say that it's not interesting topic for language students to talk about environmental challenges. And the other question was about what's good about it, so that I might encourage my colleagues, if they can see the benefit of doing such a project or of integrating such issues, they might be even more encouraged to do the same, or at least I need to think of sample for them or model for them that it's worth the try. I've used questionnaire, reflective journals from my students, and of course my observation for the field. For the findings, of course, I need to relate this to the context. So it improved their academic skills because they need to do a lot of reading and they need to write drafts. They will discuss in English about the topic. Of course, this will add more vocabulary to them and terms and ideas. Another improvement was in the life skills because they will work in group, because they have time management, they have a deadline to finish each task. And of course, they need to think critically about it. And for my context, because it's mostly traditional, this kind of a project would give the students, they would make them more autonomous. So because they need to work together, they need to search for ideas. So it's not always my task to do it. I was trying to engage them more in the work instead of doing it for them. And again, this might encourage my colleagues whenever I will share it with them. Of course, because they are future teachers, so this enhances their teaching skills as well. Like they had to do a lot of planning, aids, and activities. And most importantly, which is related to our talk today, that it promotes the social responsibility, because they think, from their reflection, they thought that it's their responsibility, so they are more careful about their behaviors and what they can do. And of course, they try to educate others. I've noticed some changes in their behaviors, like planting more trees or even using eco-friendly bags. There again another understanding of the role. So the teacher is not only concerned about teaching and grading and of course getting money, and that's it. No, we have another role that we can play, which is raising awareness or shaping their way of thinking, or at least encouraging them to play a more active role. As I've said, because they are the future teachers, and from the observation and even from the discussion with them, Some of my students work in private centers like part-time jobs, or they teach in nurseries. So they started already implementing some ideas with the kids in the nursery or in language centers. So the idea started to be there in their mind, and of course they come up with really amazing ideas that I myself didn't think about them that way. These are samples of the newsletters that they worked on as the groups. So they have different ideas, but all they were designed by the students. I'll try to share if I can open this one, and their names are there. So Marwa, Fatima, Habba, and Shahid. This is their writing, because this is the article that they have to write about sustainability as lifestyle. Of course, we went through many drafts for it, but the aim was that they read more, they know more, so that when they are going to teach it in the future, they have the background information about environmental education. They tried to put some tips there for people how to be sustainable and how to take care of the environment, and even ideas for recycling. And when these were done, they shared their magazines with their colleagues so that they get feedback and they read the others' work. And at the end of the academic year, we prepared this. It was like fair, so that they would show others their work, and they will talk more about the environment just to raise awareness. Yeah, and this is one of the examples of the recycling project that they did. So this was made from cartons and plastic. And from the feedback that I've got from their mothers, that they were so happy because they engaged their families and friends to help them doing these projects. So the mothers were so happy because they said that they might do something else, that we can use it even at home instead of throwing things away. And this was another one that they are showing the difference between like the city and where it's crowded and polluted, and the countryside. And this is that part of this is one of the walls of my classroom. And as my students wrote there, it's not normal, it's climate change. So by this, they are trying to like raise the awareness, improving their skills, language skills and life skills, and getting more to families and friends. So we engage more people in the families. So maybe in the future we'll change the idea of people that that's not their responsibility. They will know that it's mainly their responsibility. And even by making small steps, we can make a difference. Thank you.
So small steps do make a difference. I definitely agree with that. And I teach at a University of Applied Sciences in Almere, and our faculty mostly, if not only, has sustainably based studies. So where a lot of you are faced with raising awareness to your students, the problem at our university is mostly ecorexia and how we can sort of focus on the positivities of sustainability. So the ideology is there, but of course, as always, the best ideas don't start from ideology, but from practical issues or problems. So let me take you back to, I think, 4 years ago, summer vacation. And I got an email from somebody who I never met, and she introduced me to the Sustainable Teacher of the Year award. So some smaller organizations in the Netherlands, all focused on sustainability or good education, combined forces, and they started this Teacher of the Year award. And one of my students had nominated me. Spoiler alert, I lost. I got to practice my loser smile on stage. Fun fact, it was televised. So you get to do that holding hands with the winner thing, and you get to, oh, I'm so happy for you that I lost. But anyway, I didn't know that back then. So I got an email saying that my student had nominated me. And if I was sort of okay with the nomination text and everything. So of course I said I was. This is what we do. This is why we do what we do as teachers. Definitely one of the better highlights of my career. But of course, also I vowed to this student to have my revenge and pay her back for this moment. And then a couple months later, the oldest studies at a university, they're not language-based. They all have a part of their classes is language-based. So they all have English from me and Dutch classes from me or my Dutch colleague. And my Dutch colleague and I were talking about some problems we faced in our education. One mostly being that for our CV classes, our students have nothing to put on the resume. So we do resume building and applying for jobs classes and zilch, nothing. They're brilliant, but to actually put that on paper is quite a challenge. For Dutch, they focused on argumentation, which is a really hard skill. And we came up with our own nomination-based prize, our Eres Achievement Awards. So the what of what we did is just that, our own award show, basically, because obviously after I had my embarrassing moment, I think everybody deserves that. What we did was actually quite simple. So we made certificates for our students. We printed them on better paper than I've done just now. And we got them pins, because we kind of wanted to make sure that we got them something. And this is the only thing that actually costs money about our initiative. So we reached out to SDG Nederland, so the sort of Dutch part of the SDG organization. And they sell these really cute iron pins. And we thought that's what we want to give the students who actually get this award. And then we got some VIPs involved at the university, because as much as I think my students like me, nobody wants an award from me, but something signed by the dean, something signed by, well, actually just one of my colleagues, but the head coordinator of SDG implementation at the university sounds so much better than your English teacher is proud of you. So we got those people involved, and we sent it out to all the students. Via email to everybody, but then all the first year students have Dutch classes in which they focus on argumentation, so they have to write a nomination. And all the second year students have at that time CV classes in which we look at what can you put on your CV, and the importance of soft skills also on your CV. And it worked. I sound quite surprised. I was, because this is such a simple idea that you don't think it's actually going to be big. But the dean actually got some sort of VIPs from the provincial government to hand them out. And looking at what our students did, at the beginning, I was afraid that I was going to hand out certificates for voluntary work, which is, of course, brilliant. But you kind of want to make sure that this is also for marketing, was quite interested in sort of singling out our students. So some examples of what our students have done to deserve these awards are school-based. So we have students who set up our own merchandise store. We didn't have one. That's very Dutch to not really have that, but we now sell hoodies and sort of all organic kassen, because that's our students care about that, and bamboo USB drives with the university logo. The Study Association was founded by students, and we said a good education is one of the SDGs, so we want to award students for this as well. More towards sustainability, we now have Queeres, which is a sort of mashup of queer and Eres, and that is an organization who promotes LGBTQI+ awareness in the school, and also has these sort of game nights where everybody's welcome to play games. And students for business English had to write a business proposal. They set up a clothes swap that they then also executed. And because it was an extra to execute it, we said, we'll give them an award for this. They got everybody from the supportive staff on board, so much so that they now run a sort of mini clothes swap continuously in some corner of the university, where we can all donate our clothes. First couple of months, it was mostly teachers that did, and but now actually I've seen lots and lots of students use it as well. We have some students who have their own businesses, as long as that's sustainability-minded care products. We have a student who does all these food initiatives, but as her own organization. So we got her one. The student that nominated me actually runs in community that sort of promotes the link between the Islam and sustainability. She has all these activities that she sets up, and she has an Instagram account. So obviously she was the first one I nominated to get her award. But also we have photographers, for example, among our students who put photos on Instagram. And that in itself is not, we say, worthy of a nomination. But once they do, and they then also provide information about these animals and care about wildlife protection, we said this is worthy of a nomination. Students who've raised money for charities, voluntary work. Currently on my nomination list are a student who, after being sexually assaulted, wrote a poetry book, had that published. We also had one of our biology students write about, she discovered during her internship a butterfly species that is new in the Netherlands. So all these sort of achievements basically is what we do. We celebrate and making sustainability positive, also getting more and more people involved. So I can't say this has all been my impact or our impact, because our students are amazing and they were already doing a lot of these things. And at the same time, we've given them the stage. I've spoken to multiple students who said, oh, actually, I want this award. I'll think of something to do and I'll organize beach cleanups, or I'll organize something that I can do to basically win an award. So looking at the time, that was my sort of initiative and what we've done at the university to promote sustainability.
What I'm going to talk to you about is how history has turned us, for various reasons, into a green school. This is my school, and I own it. So possibly that's why I've been able to do all these changes. So guess what? We're on a hill, and the pressure in the toilets, in the systems, was pathetic. So the girls were complaining all the time that when they go to the toilet, they flush it, very little water, then the next girl goes in and it's a mess. And when I heard that song for about 3 years, I thought, well, let's talk to a plumber and see what we can do. So I spoke to a plumber and said, well, why don't you do rain harvesting? Because that is definitely something that we installed. That tank, that green tank, is 1,000 liters of water. And as you can imagine, we've got a lot of roof. And this white thing here is a filter that we have to clean regularly because there are leaves, etc. And there was a little bit of plumbing, not a lot. I mean, the whole project cost £5,000 to get these water tanks installed and the plumbing, because in the loft, we just picked the pipe that was going down to the cistern and we just connected the rainwater to it. So that was it. And if you think about it, cisterns with 300 children in the school going all the time is a lot of water, and you don't pay sewage either. So our bill for water basically came to the kettle. That was it. And washing your hands. So we shifted from £500 a month to about 100. So you can imagine how much water we save a year. And because we're in the country that we are, they're normally full. And if they go empty, it's got a sensor and it tops it up with fresh water. So that's the idea. Then we got solar panels installed, which is what everybody else is doing on top of getting the water from the sky. And then we've got inside and outside this one bins. These cost £5 on Amazon. We built a frame and we hang them. And children just use it very well because we tell them in the induction on Sunday that they need to use it. This is the game changer. That is a can crusher. And the children just go and put the can and it falls in the metal bin. And it's bliss. We're just telling them do it. Not only that, but we've got big bins in a corner of the school, and they just empty those bins inside around the school and they put it in the right place. So we tell them do it, and they just do it. Something else that we've done that I'm very proud we've done is we've got our own buses and minibuses, and we did a school run, which was a selling point of the school. Children don't have to get on the public transport, so very safe. And I was running buses all the time, and I thought one day, people can walk. And I put a time of 15 minutes. If your host is 15 minutes away from the school, you will walk. And we put it in the description letter and everything. And as long as you communicate it to the people, the children were happy to walk. Last year, I upped it to 20 minutes and they were happy to walk. This year, I'm upping it to 25 minutes to walk to school. And that means Ilfracombe is a small place. That means that 100% of our students walk to school these days, and I'm not running buses right, left, and center. In the feedback forms, apart from how wonderful everything is, they say, I loved being able to walk to school because they come from big cities and they are driven everywhere to school. And somebody has mentioned about the photocopier, which is something that the pandemic helped me do it because we had a contract and I thought, well, we're going to be closed. So I cancelled the photocopier and we turned our syllabus all online on PDF. And when the teachers returned, we said, oh, well, the photocopier is gone. It's not in the building, so you need to adjust to it. And all the teachers have completely adjusted to it. And we are not paying £200 a month all with a photocopier. So these are a few ideas that you can implement and you'll be saving a lot of money. That's it.
Okay, so I thought I'd start with this graph from something called the Plant-Based Treaty. You can look it up online, Google it. It's full of information about food, plant-based food, which is what I'm going to talk about today. Little bit of background. We run residential summer schools for children and teenagers. We obviously, like everybody here, are trying to make our courses as sustainable, as environmentally responsible as possible. And a large part of that is the food that we provide. Food is really important to the kids, and it's a large part of the holidays, their educational holidays, and what they do. So why did we want to provide more plant-based food? Well, basically because, as you can see on this chart here, it is the single, probably, well, in fact, almost certainly, the single most impactful thing that somebody can do to change their environmental impact. If you would like to know more about the impact of food, then I recommend you to Dr. Joseph Moore, who produced the graph that you saw before. And as it says, taking it as a whole picture, there's probably nothing more powerful in an individual's life than to address their environmental impact than changing their diet towards a vegan plant-based diet. You may already be aware of that. If you are and you'd like to know more, then I really recommend that video on YouTube from Dr. Joseph Moore. So we changed our menus to make them more plant-based. We told everybody about it through our website. We talked about a balanced and responsible diet, and we kind of gave people an idea of the kind of things that we're going to be serving. So cauliflower and potato curry, and pesto pasta, and creamy kora curry with Bombay potatoes and naan, etc., etc. And it all sounds lovely, doesn't it? So we were looking forward to serving up this menu for everyone and seeing their reactions. And we took some informal responses, and we asked the students kind of on a weekly basis, what do you think of the food? And this was kind of fairly typical of the response. What's your favorite food? Pizza. What would you like to see more of? Burgers. What would you like to see less of? Vegan food, and in this case, pork as well. And very importantly to us, if you were here last year, is the food better or worse? Worse. Okay. So this was kind of like, oh, right. Okay. What have we done here? Here's another one. What's your favorite food? Pizza. What would you like to see more of? Fried chicken, pizza, burgers, chips. What would you like to see less of? Vegan food. And so, you know, you kind of think, oh, crikey, right, what have we done, you know? Anyway, there was a bit of a contradiction because in our sort of slightly more sophisticated end of course surveys, we didn't ask the question, what do you think of the food? We asked the question, do you think the food was healthy and varied? And a majority now said, yes, they do. I mean, it's very disappointed that there were many who said no, because I honestly don't know how we could make the food more healthy and varied. But there's a contradiction here. Presumably the students want healthy and varied food. A majority thought it was healthy and varied, but they're still asking for fast food type food. So what do we do? So first of all, we thought, well, we need to understand the cultural differences. You know, where are people coming from? And I was in Hungary a couple of months ago, and in Segovia in northern Spain, and noticed that the food was very, very centered around meat. In fact, it was quite difficult to to find food in restaurants that wasn't just basically meat. There were alternatives, but meat was the center of everything. We also noticed there was loads of salt in the food. Makes it really tasty, but to my taste, when I'm not used to salt, it was over salted. And of course, there will be students who are coming from backgrounds where many more spices are used in the food. So understanding that background, we then need to manage their expectations for when they come to us. So through our pre-course information and through our induction practices, we'll be saying things to them like, we use less food, so it's going to seem a bit bland at first, but stick with it for a couple of days, and it will feel better. And we'll tell them that we'll provide lots of plant-based food if they would like to experiment and try eating this food. It's healthy and delicious, etc. So give it a go, kind of thing. And during induction, when we're walking around the school, we'll go into the cafeteria area and we'll show them where everything is, and we'll point out the salad bar and the vegetarian offering and so on. And also we concluded we need to step back a bit. In terms of meat reduction, we kind of did a lot virtually overnight. So 2022, we had fairly normal sort of canteen, school canteen-based foods. 2023, a lot of it was plant-based. And the response was not unanimously positive. So we said, okay, fine, let's step back a bit. We can still do meat reduction. For example, if we're doing chicken pie, for example, we can halve the amount of chicken, replace the other half with vegetables. We can still call it chicken pie, but we've halved the amount of meat we use in that dish. So that was one response that we'll be implementing. And the other is perhaps don't talk about it quite so much, ironically. So we used to have something called Meat-Free Monday, and people said, oh no, it's Meat-Free Monday, that means there's no meat. And they were good-naturedly complaining. When we didn't tell them it was Meat-Free Monday, nobody noticed, which was great, and they just ate the food anyway. So if you could do a meat-free Monday or a meat-free Friday or whatever, but my advice is don't signal it, just do it. And then there's this organization called Greener by Default. Hopefully, Mikey, you can put a link into chat. That basically encourages people to encourage caterers to put forward plant-based meals by default, still perhaps to offer meat or whatever, or a meat version if people want it, but the default is plant-based, and the evidence is that that substantially increases take-up of the plant-based offering. And then, of course, because we're in the business of education, we need to do more in terms of educating pupils about diets and which diets are more sustainable than others. So we ran this summer a vegan cookery workshop. It was very successful. We can probably do more in classes as well to educate students on this. And then finally, we will do a bit more research. So there is the Plant-Based Treaty. You can go to their website. They have this playbook here for universities and colleges, which I would really recommend to anybody who's interested in this whole subject. They have, for example, in there a link to vegan recipes for schools. So we'll be looking again at our recipes and thinking, you know, are there new recipes? Are there recipes we haven't tried that we can use? And then finally, we need to do a bit more in terms of presentation and the language that we use. So there is, again, in the plant-based treaty tool, what do they call it? Workbook, I think. They have a link to the Edgy Veggies Toolkit, which encourages taste-focused labeling. So things like cabbage, I don't know about you, but British classrooms typically used to smell of boiled cabbage. You'd walk into a school canteen and there was a smell of boiled cabbage in the background, which was off-putting. So here is their suggestions for what you do with cabbage. You can call it lemon and melted butter braised cabbage, and you can get plant-free butter. You can get plant-based butter, of course, which is virtually indistinguishable from, you know, animal butter. Tender butter braised cabbage with bright lemon zest, sizzling Cajun style cabbage, Southern style country fried cabbage. So we'll start to use some more enticing descriptions for the plant-based products that we are planning to serve. And hopefully that will change students' perceptions from thinking that plant-based is a bit bland to actually it's much more exciting and tasty and delicious. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much indeed, Chris, and thanks to all of the speakers who have showcased their amazing efforts today. I've got two immediate reflections that I have to say. The first is how incredibly low cost all of this is. You know, so often we're told that there's some kind of anybody who's been following COP28 will recognize it, the financial cost of improving environmental impact. But you know, even a water tank's only £5,000. And my second reflection is: can you imagine if all of the institutions across the sector were doing all these things? You know, integrating learning into the classroom, using or recycling plastic in a meaningful way, greening their schools in the way that Jose and Georgia have done, or improving their catering. Can you imagine if everybody did this and the ripple effects that would have to future generations as they learn about it? So amazing.
And the amount of money you would save as well.
And the money you would save as well. So yeah, amazing initiatives.